the house of Warrior Strength Girl.
Jesus. I'm impressed that you stuck with that. Went all the way.
Where
You're
am
like,
I going to go from here? I was like, no, I'll just at least finish it off.
yeah, that's good.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Warrior Strength Cast. I'll be serious now. I'm your host, Lauren Green, and I'm here with my wonderful husband.
Shannon Green.
And today on the podcast, we have a very special guest.
Jaxson.
Jaxson Wearing. J-Bomber.
Jaxson, J-Bomber, that's me. That's my Instagram tag.
That's your IG handle.
Expect at least 10 new followers after this.
10 you
Mate, don't give us that much credit. There's only 3 people that listen.
Let me
That's just you, me, and...
let me check our subscriber numbers now. So thank you for coming on. I've been wanting to get you on here for a long time.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, you're one of my favourites.
I've been thinking about it for a while. I was like, oh, good to get on a podcast.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, dropping hints, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Telepathically.
With the voodoo doll.
That's right. That's right. Gotta do some more work on that.
Yes, yes you do. My shoulder, please.
Yeah.
Left scap would be good.
Done.
So you've got comp coming up this weekend?
I do.
The Hunter Classic?
That's right. I am doing Hunter Classic on Sunday
Yep.
in the 82.5 kilo class.
Yes.
Feeling pretty excited about it.
Good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty excited / obviously apprehensive. This is interesting because you can hear yourself.
Yeah.
In here, and I'm like, I can pick up on how I actually feel.
You
my
sound
voice
confident?
tones.
You don't sound confident.
You're like, yeah, I'll be there, I'll be so good.
Yeah, I'm going to nail it.
Yeah, no, really smash it.
How's the prep gone?
Pretty good up until about a week ago, because I decided to move house
Oh, yeah, that's always
during
fun.
peak week,
Yeah, that's
which
good.
was fucking
Smart
great.
move.
Yeah.
It's life. It's going to be done.
I just my Thursday deadlift day was shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still wearing the pain face from that.
Yeah, but you also normally deadlift at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
True that.
And you deadlifted at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
So it's a hard
Yeah.
thing to deadlift early.
Yeah.
And
I
they-
just
and
my
they're saying that
expectations.
the most 3 stressful things in your lifetime is like a death, moving house, and like losing a job or a partner or something
That's
like that.
right.
So
yeah.
you put yourself when you're highly stressed out and
That's right.
comp prep peaking
Yeah.
into a highly stressed out situation. So
That's
Yeah.
all right. I moved a couple of weeks before Pro Roll 9 and I podiumed.
yeah.
That's what we should have done the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Add that extra stress in.
Sometimes I find actually, I don't know if I do this deliberately, but almost every prep I do bring out some sort of sabotage about 2 or 3 weeks
Yeah.
prior, and then feel like I have to climb back from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got like what do you call that? Like a
Self-sabotage.
Yeah. No, it's what's the thing when you get like, the Aussie thing, there's always a person from the underdog.
Oh, the
Underdog complex.
Yeah.
I got
yeah.
that. I'm like, I'm the underdog. I gotta prove it, and then
Yeah.
I actually try harder.
Well, there you go.
I should just try harder anyway.
That's your method. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
maybe.
pretend you moved and then try harder. So what numbers are you hoping for? We can talk about it because this won't be out before the
Yeah,
weekend.
no, that's good.
1,000 total.
Don't want to sabotage myself. The numbers that I'm hoping for, so I'm hoping to squat around 230.
Yep.
Somewhere between 225 and 230.
And what's your current comp PB?
220.
Yep.
Squat. And then bench, it'd be great to crack 140. And deadlift anything from 200 at this stage would be awesome. Deadlifts are just one of those things, I just suck at them.
Well, you don't, but sometimes your back niggles and you hold yourself
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Just from an outsider looking in.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks for that. Always looking for new insights. Yeah, I think so. I think it's my back. It
But
is.
also, I feel like
And the fatigue.
you kind of have this before most comps, but then on comp day, you suddenly just seem to nail your deadlifts.
Yeah, I just
The vibe on the day or whatever it
Yeah.
is, you just push through it.
That's right. I think it's like a new level of focus.
Yeah.
On the day.
Yeah.
And Luke's always giving me shit for that.
Yeah.
He's always like, the way I see you compete, I never see that in training. So
Yeah.
sort it out. Still working on it.
Just rock up in your onesie every training session.
Yeah.
Mean
take some
mugging
cold flu
people
tablets.
in that little like commercial gym. You try.
Hey, that does make a huge difference. It's definitely training commercial gym lowers.
Yeah.
It just lowers your
Your
standard.
test levels.
Yeah. Ball strength. Oh,
Yeah.
wait. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Are we going there already?
Yeah, that's right.
So you're a
Drop it in
chiropractor. I want to talk about that. Mm-hmm. How long have you been a chiropractor and how did you get into it?
Yeah, so I've been a chiropractor since 2012, which is 7 years. Sorry, maths? It's not maths.
That's all right.
It is 7 years. Yeah, and I work in a clinic in Summerhill in Sydney, the inner west. And I got into chiro, I literally pretty much fell into it. Yeah, so when I started uni, after year 12, went straight to uni and I started in environmental science. And then after a year, my girlfriend at the time wanted to move to Sydney. So I went with her and went to Macquarie Uni. Yeah. Macquarie Uni
Where were you before that?
Newcastle.
Okay.
Yeah, so I grew up on the Central Coast.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
okay, I didn't know that.
And I went to Newcastle Uni because my ATAR at the time was so shit. And they let me in, which is great. But after that, like, this cool thing at uni happens where, like, every time you do a subject, your ATAR goes up in the first year.
Okay.
So after the first year, they just let me into Sydney Uni. So I went to Macquarie Uni. Macquarie Uni in New South Wales. Macquarie Uni is the only university that offers chiropractic.
Okay.
But I didn't start then. I went straight into geology. And I had the first experience I had with chiropractors was I went to the toilet upstairs in the geology labs. And I walked past this, like, room with this, like, window. It was about this big. It was so small. And I just, like, glanced in and I saw a bunch of people in their underwear,
so
like, touching each other.
Wind it back a bit. You just walked past a wall with a hole in it with a small window and peeked in.
Yeah. That's how
What does that say about you?
What does that say about chiropractors? Right? Yeah. So anyway, that was my first experience. And then,
Sorry, you looked in and you saw a bunch of people what?
Yeah, in their underpants.
Right.
Touching each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were like, this is the career for me.
No, at first I was like, what is that? Because I was doing geology downstairs, like staring at rocks.
Yeah.
You know, so I was like...
You're like, fuck this shit.
I'm going upstairs, I'm moving upstairs.
I want to hold something different.
And then, like, the next semester after that time that I started, I had to do a bunch of... they call them, like, you just do complementary subjects, so they're not part of your core subjects. And so I had a whole semester off of my core subjects. So they said just do some whatever complementary ones. So I enrolled in anatomy, first year anatomy, and I started that. And this cool thing happened. I was in the first lecture for anatomy, and I was sitting there, and the lecturer was a chiropractor himself, but he was just talking about, the shoulder or something. We always start with the shoulder, and just the information just went straight into my brain. Like, I really had to think about it.
Yeah, it just
I was
made
just
sense
like, oh,
straight
okay.
away.
And like geology, like, I'd been 2 years in geology and just, like, I had breakdowns every couple of weeks because I just had to force myself to understand the concepts.
Like,
I just thought I was
don't even
stupid.
care about this rock.
Oh my God.
Like, who cares what's inside it?
Well, we had to calculate the gravitational forces that cause wind. Which I was
you should
so...
live with Shannon for a week. That'll skew that data, right?
It all seems to be coming from Caringbah, New South Wales and Sydney.
The gravitational pull is strong.
So good. So I realised after enrolling in anatomy that I probably wasn't that unintelligent.
Yeah.
That maybe I just was in the wrong subject.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I canned geology and went into health sciences after I started in anatomy.
Yep.
And then from there I went, I want to actually graduate with a qualification. And they didn't offer medicine, thank God, because no offence to doctors, but there's this really important thing. If you're really good at something, you really got to think about the end job that you're going to do.
Yeah.
And definitely, like, treating people from a medical point of view is never going to be a good idea for me. So I just enrolled in chiro. I never even seen one or anything like that. My mum used to
You just remembered the people through the window.
just was in.
That's what I want to be.
That's right.
I'm a touchy-feely kind of person.
Which I didn't know until I started.
Yeah.
I was like, the first day we had a chiro tutorial, I was like, this is really good.
Yeah, that's cool.
So many things drew me to it. It was just the perfect subject for me. Yeah, the anatomy, applied anatomy, functional anatomy, and then also I think, like, from where I was at the time, like a really angry underdog. I was really impressed, like, because most of the staff were female as well, like people who were running the course.
Yep.
And I just thought it was awesome, so
Yep.
I was really inspired by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got into that. That's how I got into it. And then, it just went from there.
And have you been in the same clinic in Summerhill?
Since I graduated?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. So I graduated and I actually worked for 3 different people that year, which a lot of chiros do when they first start out.
Yep.
Because you kind of spread yourself out if you feel like you need to, unless you take over your own clinic or you find that one really good mentor.
Yeah, but you do that with a few different clinics to have different mentors, right?
Yeah.
To learn from different people.
Yeah, that's right.
See what kind of techniques and whatever you kind of gel with the most.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was so blessed to have had, in my lifetime as a chiropractor since I graduated, 3 really amazing mentors who taught me heaps. The first guy, who's a chiropractor osteopath from, decades ago, he actually works at the uni. He's a researcher there, and he's a really amazing osteo. And he took me on as an assistant.
Okay.
Like when I was doing masters, and like I learnt more from him than I did from the program by far.
Yeah.
Even just I only watched him for the first 3 months, and then he had me do all the soft tissue work, and then he'd come and do the adjustments. But he just taught me heaps in the way like I watched him and stuff like that. And my second mentor is a lady that I work for now, and she taught me heaps as well, but in a completely different way.
Yeah.
And she actually, like, I really think like people learn a lot by experiencing.
100%.
Yeah. So I had treatment from her. I still do get treatment from her, and I probably learnt mostly from her treating me.
Treating you, yeah.
Yeah, and having these really dramatic changes in my body and my function and all that kind of stuff with her. And so she really inspired me to look at everything else outside of musculoskeletal stuff, or like more like look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So the guy I was working with before, he was really holistic in his approach. He was like talking about anatomy trains and how like different soft tissues affect the joints, and then how the joints affect those, and how that affects function and all functions. He used to treat like cancer patients and people with dementia, and then just the regular Joes have just desk jobs and stuff. And so he would just apply it. He could apply his sort of technique to all these different cases, which was really cool. Yeah. And then my other mentor, she kind of goes from, well, if you've got a physical problem and 10% of it has a physical cause, then you fixing that is only going to treat it 10%, right? So she's like, this is how you look at the chemistry of the body and how it might affect that physical problem, and all the emotional body, how the emotions and stress and everything else, not even just the physiology of stress, but like how we hold emotions in the system and how they affect our physical body. Like she's like, this is the triad of health, or this is like the big picture of the entire like holistic kind of function of the body. So I think working with her was like an ongoing training process for about 5 years. Like
that's really cool.
It was like an internship. Yeah, it was amazing. And I also found like working in her practice, this is another thing I learned from practice, is like if you're in the right environment for yourself, you just explode. Like on all levels, like 100%. Knowledge, learning. Yeah. You just unlock different parts of yourself.
Well, I would say that since meeting Shannon and then coming and working here. Yeah. For sure.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just once you get in that right environment. And like my biggest measure was like patient numbers. So like as soon as I started working solely for the lady I work for now, my practice just went through the roof. Like within a week. Like I was seeing maybe 15 people a week for like 6 months. And I just solely worked for her. It just literally within a week jumped to like 30.
Yeah, wow.
And 45, and now it's like way up there. So.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, so it's been great.
And you've got a lot of clients that you've had right from the beginning still with you as well, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Since I was a student.
Yeah.
I still got people from student clinic who come
cool.
see me. Yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
great. Yeah.
I'm going to be one of your new clients soon.
I can't wait.
You were so creepy. We just trained earlier, and then you did an adjustment on me, and I've got a bit of a dicky shoulder at the moment, and then when between sets you were like, I've been watching you move and I just can't wait until I get into you. And I was like, oh, great.
And that happens. It is
I don't know if I'm aroused or scared right now. But whatever, if you fix my shoulder, it's been a team effort, I tell you, the last 6 months or so. So maybe
it'll
6
be an
months.
experience, that's for sure.
No, it'll be good. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And also you teach at uni, don't you? You're a lecturer, so let's talk about that as well.
Yeah, so my affinity with anatomy took off after I finished my undergrad. So I did pretty well with anatomy, just something was like a second language kind of thing. And I was really, this is another case of just being in the right place at the right time, because I landed this job, which is really hard to get, super competitive. And they never hire students, basically, at the uni to teach anatomy. Back in the day when I got hired, which is 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? But I managed it, I think, like I was doing a topic subject prior to me graduating my undergrad, then going to Masters of Chiro. And the lady that I was my tutor, I did a presentation to her and the class on physiology of the kidney or something like that. Yeah. And I did a pre-lecture about animal rights and like how animals were treated in the lab and things like that. Which I think she just really liked that.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's like a little bit off topic.
Yeah, I was just like, we can't really, talk about advancements in science without talking about the use of animals and and what they sacrifice for us to use that. It's pretty cruel. So I did this kind of little topic on that, and the whole class thought it was hilarious. And I was like, what the fuck are you laughing, you fucking idiots?
You're like, free the mouse.
I was like, what? I'm like, no, look at this properly, blah, blah, blah. And then I think she just really was impressed by that. So we opened an anatomy lab at Macquarie Uni as part of the hospital there 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Prior to that, everyone who studied anatomy had to go over to Sydney Uni and use their wet labs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she started the neuro labs there, neurology. And so she said, hey, I've got a 2-hour slot. Do you want to come and teach for me? And I was like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
At first I was really confused. I was like, what are you talking about?
What am I going to teach? About
like,
animal rights?
Yeah.
Creating vegans.
Yeah. That's right. And she's like, no, I want you to come and teach with me. And I was like, okay, cool, done. And so since then, I've kind of branched out from teaching neuroanatomy to head and neck anatomy, and we do trunk and back and musculoskeletal and just gross anatomy, which is like general anatomy.
And really gross anatomy.
It's super gross. And yeah, so after about 2 or 3 years of tutoring in the labs, then I started lecturing as well, which has been really rewarding. Yeah. So good. Yeah, so that's kind of how I landed that, got into it, and then just has expanded from there, which is cool.
And with your lecturing, is that quite practical as well? Like you get cadavers and things like that, right?
The course is run it's a lot of contact hours. So I think it's 6 contact hours a week, which for any, if you do arts or philosophy, you do 6 hours a week total.
Yeah, right.
You do 4 courses in 6 hours a week.
Yeah.
So any science-based units, it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
Sometimes 28 to 30 hours a week of just, you got to be there face to face. So I do sessions in the practical lab, which is the wet lab, which is where the cadavers are. So we have to hold our cadavers and store them in a certain area, in a lab,
of course,
like a surgical lab, because it's obviously human tissue, and even just the preservation, the stuff we use to preserve it and embalm them, is highly toxic. So it has to be really well aerated. It's underground, you know, and things like that. So that they're kept down there, and the lectures happen in a lecture hall elsewhere, where you just use slides and I'm really into drawing. I believe that to really understand and know anatomy and to understand the way it links together and functions together, you have to be able to draw it. And even if you draw stick figures, you're still getting the right. You're associating it well in your head. Yeah. So I do a lot of drawing in my lectures and
That's
in
cool.
the tutorials as well. So they also have tutorials. So they do 2 hours practical with the wet specimens, with the human tissue.
Yep.
They do 1 hour, 2 1-hour sessions in the lecture hall, and then they do 1 hour tutorial, which is just small classroom.
Yeah.
We do case-based stuff there. We talk about where it goes wrong and how to like find it on the body, you know, like where the spleen is compared to the liver, you know, on the actual body, on the real body. So yeah, it's a pretty like the course is very complex and very detailed, and for all the different ones. I tend to teach like the second and third year level now rather than the first year level, like just because I think it's boring. But,
yeah, well, I mean, we went and
it's not boring, it's really great, but I just, like, for me to continue do it every day, like, sometimes I'm teaching the same thing 6 times over, so I kind of like to have, like, I like the complexity.
Yeah, well, that's understandable. Yeah, because we went and saw, what is it called, Body World or Body Works?
Yeah.
And so even just those, I mean, I've been to the one before, but this one had less bodies, but just... like, it's so cool that it's like a real body and it's like dissected up and the different ways they would dissect through it and show you, and just like it's
next level, you know? Education.
And it's cool when they've pulled all the nerves off or the capillaries and stuff like that. They had like all the capillaries in the foot and like they'd pulled off, and I was just like, fuck, that would have taken forever.
Yeah, but even the ones they've got like them pulled apart differently, so on the scapula you can just see like the teres minor and then all that, like just it's all the different ones that you could go over, and especially because we've been teaching our courses at the moment, our ACE technical lifting one. Yeah, so it was just like we're taking photos and like it'd just be good to we bought the book so that we can put some slides or something in the book that we give out just to get people to understand things more.
It's a whole nother level of learning when you actually have human tissue in front of you and you learn from that, and I would say even like being able to touch it and manipulate it and move it around. Also, it just adds this. It's another dimension to the way you visualize yourself and people, like especially if you're a practitioner and you're working, or a trainer or a coach, you know, it's just added a whole other dimension to your you know, to your skill set. And like I always tell the students this like all the time, so they have this like deep appreciation for what they're doing, because you know, Macquarie Uni is like, it's the only we have the most kind of complex or detailed set of wet specimens apart from Sydney Uni for chiropractors in Australia. Like if you go down RMIT in Melbourne, they have a couple of brains and like some legs and stuff like that. And then if you go over to Perth, you got to study off of greyhounds.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so like I mean there is application because you're seeing 3D something in 3D. But to see like real human tissue and like honestly like the variations, you just appreciate. It's like, I can't even really put words to it, but you just appreciate this whole other level of anatomy or human
the variations on like a healthy human and the obese human and things like that, it was like,
it's crazy.
Like people would, like, it was jaw dropping because you put it on your story, I put it on my story, and people were like, wow, that's just like someone who's overweight, and even their brain tissue changed and things like that. So it's full on.
It's so full on. We had we have a lot of sections in our lab that are sagittal sections, so split right down the half, and they leave like basically from the rib up, and to cut the arm off here and use the arm elsewhere and stuff. And you know, so we're looking at a half which is the same as that one that you guys had. And we dissect the cheek out and show all the nerves and the arteries in there. And so we'd be there and going, oh, this is this and this is that, and they'd be like, students like, where are we? We're like, we're in the cheek. We're like, well, how do you know? And I'm like, this is the chin, and this is the other chin, and then this is the cheek, because they couldn't see the difference between like where they couldn't figure out where the mandible was, you know. But I think like the more intense thing about that is that I really appreciate about, especially obesity, is that the body will literally deposit fatty tissue any spare space it
You'll
has.
find spots, any
stick
spots.
It in. You're like, so you're looking like between like the lungs to the artery and the heart, and there's little pockets of adipose tissue there. Like they're not supposed to be there.
Even in the back, like it was like that graphic was insane. Well, not graphic, that body. When
and
you
just like
it.
like the intramuscular fat, how much it increases. Like when people go,
exactly,
like Wagyu beef, this and that. And I'm like, you know, that's a clinically obese cow. It doesn't move. That's what clinically obese people look like.
To like get that marbling or whatever. They have that. Well, it's and I mean because we've done. I've done some prosecting as well, which is to dissect away to show the tissue. We've done a couple of those as well, which has been really rewarding. But, if the person who we're dissecting even spent 10 days in bed prior to their death, there's sections of muscle that are muscle, and then they transition to fat.
Oh,
so the
wow.
muscle itself, that being that sedentary, just starts to switch over and become jelly.
To
It becomes fatty. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
always thought that was a myth.
Yeah, no,
Big
yeah.
guys that go, I haven't trained for a few weeks ago. My muscles turned to fat.
Yeah, well,
You're like,
I think in this case,
I think you need
know,
to be fully sedentary for it to happen.
they didn't move.
Yeah.
This is 10 days in palliative care,
Yeah.
you know, and with all the drugs and
Yeah.
stuff pumping through, and
Yeah.
no nutrition at all, and
Yeah.
the body's starting to completely degrade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we're sitting there trying to pick, you know, prosecting is not glamorous at all. You're literally just picking fat away from the tissue that you want to show.
Yeah.
And sometimes the fat is like not even a mil.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, my neck is fucked.
Wow.
Just trying to section this stuff. Oh,
It
it's
just
nuts.
reminds me of the fly fishing guy.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy, but yeah, this is really good. But yeah, so that's full on, and the variations are just incredible.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we've even got this full trunk that's open like this, you know, so you can see the spine and the arteries and everything on top of it. And she's got this specimen has a very sharp scoliosis in the lumbars, only in the lumbars, so it completely corrects itself thoracic.
Okay.
But between the sacrum and the thoracics, it's like over there.
Oh,
It's
wow.
Like, yeah, it's definitely a plus 30 degrees curve. And then watching the arteries deviate with it, and the muscle change. So the psoas on the left is just bulked, huge,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the one on the right's like just very, very thin.
Yeah, wow.
And so watching those kinds of.
It's pretty cool.
Like, yeah, it's really cool. And like, you know, then, you know, students don't see it. They just see the artery and they're like, oh, there's the artery. You're like, well, look at the curve. Like, and they're
Yeah.
like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's very cool though. Like it's very good that it's that level of education for them to go through. I mean, and obviously there's going to be people that will be like, okay, cool, like whatever, blah blah blah, like try
Yeah.
to pass. But then there'll be the people that are intrigued by
Yeah.
it, and they're the ones who are going to end up being good therapists
That's
because
right.
they want to understand. Oh, how did the body cope with that? How did it adapt?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that too, because like, you know, I've been teaching now for 10 years, or 9 years, almost 10. And like probably the first couple of years going through were mostly students who were like, okay, just tell me what I need to do to pass.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, you just need to know these things. If you don't know these things, you'll fail, and that's it. And they're like, okay. And then about 2 years in, we started getting these students who just didn't respond to that kind of mentality. And that's how I was taught. That's how I grew up. You know, don't do this, you're fucked, you know?
Yeah.
And we start saying to students, you just see this like shutter just glaze over their face go off. And you're like, why isn't this working anymore?
Yeah.
Why do these people care about their marks, you know, or
Yeah.
the money they're spending on their degree? Like,
Millennials, no.
yeah, well, I think that was like the turn of it. Like these
yeah.
are 18-year-olds in 2014, 15. So yeah, they kind of are like millennials. Yeah, they have a completely different mindset.
Yeah.
And
That
they don't
everyone's
like
gonna
hard
do everything
work.
for them.
Yeah, they don't like hard work. They don't understand. It's not that they don't like it. They don't understand it. They
Yeah.
don't know what they have to do to get something really intense. And what I had was like, well, I just need to somehow change my teaching style to adapt to these people, because it's like more than 60%. So, you know, I need to change mine.
Yeah.
And most of it came from what they respond to is like storytelling, right?
Yeah.
Make something interesting.
100%.
Teach people how to learn, like an interesting way to learn, which is cool, because I learnt best when I was like, turned it into a story.
Yeah.
Or
Everyone
drew a
does. You remember
picture.
stories, right? So
Exactly,
that's what it
and
comes-
like
yeah.
flow diagrams and stuff, and it's like reintroducing that rather than the dry stuff, and people were like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
You know? And then they start looking at the body in that way, which is
Yeah.
what really matters. I mean, it does matter. You need to know psoas muscle from the quadriceps.
Yeah.
You do need to know that, otherwise you look like an idiot.
Yeah.
You're doing stupid shit.
Yeah.
But you also need to be able to look at the body like this, like, oh, I can see like the scoliosis, and I can see how that changes the musculature. And just by seeing this difference now, I know what a psoas is here and a psoas is here, so I can identify that.
Yeah.
Rather than just going psoas,
Yeah.
Yeah.
muscle, bone, artery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, no, I can't tell the difference. And then you're like, yeah. And then you get someone who's like, plumbing is completely variant. And you're like, look at that, like the renal artery goes
Point to
over
it now.
there and then
Go on.
under there. Yeah.
Where is it now?
That's right. And people are like, oh, and I'm like, oh, look, this subject has a tumour on the vestibulocochlear nerve, for example, and you know that's very rare, and this is what it does, and all of a sudden they know exactly what a vestibulocochlear nerve is.
Yeah.
Whereas before they might have just been like, oh yeah, it's another cranial nerve. I can't remember the name because it's too
Yeah.
long. You know, so
Yeah.
it's like a new way of teaching people. But you're right. It's like actually, if you think about it, we all learn better that way,
Yeah.
which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but that's good for you as well, though, that you were like, okay, they're not getting it. I need to adapt what I'm doing. Because how many times, like, I know at high school or whatever, I had a teacher who would be like, I don't really understand the way that you're saying that. And they're like, stop being difficult. And I'm like, no, I don't, like, whatever the way. And they just yell at you what they already said. I'm like, but if I don't understand what you said, yelling that, I mean, can you explain it to me a different way so that I understand it?
Saying it louder,
like,
it's not going to go in.
Yeah. I say that to Shannon sometimes.
Guilty as well.
Don't just yell at me. Yeah, well, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's been really cool. Like, really
I don't feel like you're old
experience.
enough to be like, I've been lecturing at uni for 10 years.
I know, I don't feel like
But I don't feel
they
like...
do that too. They're
Yeah.
like, I'm like, I've got my 30th on the weekend. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
Thought you were 25. I was like, please, come on.
Come on, kids. Come on.
Come on, children.
Can't you see my moustache?
You wouldn't want to know me when I was 25.
Oh, you wouldn't even recognise me.
Yeah, which like some of my fellow tutors often joke about.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, when you're 25, things were a bit different back then, hey Jax? And I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah.
Well, on that note, let's talk about that funny scenario I told you about recently where my mum rang me up. She's like, so there's someone named Jax that trains at your gym? And I'm like, yeah. But there was another guy, Jaxson. And I'm like, yeah, why? She's like, well, my chiro knows them. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And I'm thinking it's like the young Jaxson that joined here like a year ago, whatever. Did you know that that's a girl? And I'm like, oh, you mean Jax? I go, no, he was a girl. I'm like, I know. Sorry, Mum. Sorry to ruin your secrets.
Poor Mum, she has some hot glass.
Yeah,
She would have heard that. She
was so disappointed. We can imagine like her chiro telling her about it because you obviously went to chiro school or something together.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
but funny. And I'm
That's
like,
hilarious.
really? And I go, well, actually, he is a guy.
Yeah, that's right. Mind blown. And he's open about it.
Yeah.
Everyone knows. Yeah, so on that note, so I am transgender and I was born female, or what they would, classify physically as female. And
what I wanted to bring up quickly though, which I wasn't going to tell that mum story. I was going to go, what did you Google on the weekend?
Is male a gender, a boy?
Am I a man?
I love Google.
Sorry, Karen, I had to
put
do
in
the Google one.
transgender and just look at the Dropbox. Oh, it's good. It's good. Or what is it? If you just go pregnant and then space, that's really great.
Oh, really?
That's great. Pregnant is my girlfriend.
I feel like this is going to be another one of those big time wasters, like Instagram stories.
That's great.
Who even am I looking at right now?
Oh, so many segues there, but I won't go there.
Yeah.
Brain back to
You were born as a female.
Yeah, I was born female, and I discovered at about age 26 that I was actually transgender, which means that I identify as a male, which is different to my female assigned birth sex.
Yeah.
And then I went on a journey to socially transition to male, and then change my name, and then finally medically transitioned, or started transitioning at 28. No, sorry, bad timeline. I started medically transitioning 3 months before my 30th birthday.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I'm now 32, so I've been on testosterone. So medical transition is I've been taking testosterone, hormones for, almost 3 years. 3 years on June the 9th.
Okay.
I will have been on testosterone.
Yeah.
So that is like obviously a really big part of my life.
Yeah.
Huge part of my journey, massive discoveries, self-discovery, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so it's a pretty big...
So let's backtrack a bit though. So that was 26. So before that though, so you're in a female relationship.
Yeah, cool. So yeah.
So were you, when you were younger, did you ever have a boyfriend?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you had boyfriends.
I tried really hard.
Yeah. So was that something? Because I've spoken to you about like a lot of things, but I've actually never asked you if you've had a boyfriend before.
So if we start at the very, very beginning, I probably had my first memory when I was 4, I think, and I remember having like my arm was covered in black spiders, and I like whipped them off, and then I was like, oh, here I am in the world. Weird. I don't know if anyone has that experience when they first have their first memory, but and then I realized I sort of felt somehow consciously in my body, took an overall insight of what was there, and I was like, oh, this is not right. Yeah, like that, like this isn't right. And then I felt like the shutters of like dissociation come upon me, and just turn that off, just switch it off.
And so, do you think that was like originally? So, if you were thinking more of, maybe like I'm gay, but I shouldn't be gay.
No, I think I just knew something wasn't right in my body, and I had zero understanding of what that could be. I just knew something wasn't right.
Yep.
And then so there's no language around that. Didn't know that maybe I'm supposed to be a boy, maybe I'm actually a les, maybe I'm this, maybe that. Just like was just nothing. Yeah. It was just like something's wrong. I know what it is. So I'm just going to shut it off.
Just don't worry about it.
Yeah, because you don't think about that. You know, obviously. That's too much to think about.
I'm going to go to kindy. I got honey on my sandwich.
Exactly. Yeah. So many other things that are way more important to think about when you're 4 years old.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like I probably just, you know, I just sort of floated through life till I was about, like 16. And I had like multiple, if I look back now, especially, you know, hindsight's 20/20, right? But I probably had multiple identity crises. From the age 4 all the way through, you know, like meltdowns every time I had to wear female clothes, and just I had intense body anxiety, which would come out like, you know, like I had long hair, very luscious, very curly, and I fucking hated it.
Yeah, right.
And I just tried to like control that, like pulled it right back. Like my parents probably had like huge biceps from just like pulling my hair into a ponytail that they could like tie off. So I got chronic headaches from that. And a really, really deep hairline. At like by the time I was like 12, my parents were like, "Yeah, she really needs a fringe."
Yeah.
Yeah, to cover the.
Or you could have just had a short haircut. And
I didn't have the guts to do that till I was about 16.
Yeah.
I cut my hair off at 16, and then I did this thing. I think a lot of people do this. I just sort of cut it to like my ear, and it was all like
a bob.
Punchy. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's short enough. Like, I can't put it up. And then I went, fuck this. I went full mohawk after that. Just going to go with that. By the time I was like 18, it was pretty short. But so I probably had multiple crises. And about at age 17, I realised that something was really wrong, totally different. One of my friends at the time at school, so I grew up in the Central Coast, so there's not a lot of diversity up there, right? So everyone just looks the same. And I was like really trying to fit in with that. And one of my friends came out as bisexual. And I was like, oh, cool.
I might try that.
Well, maybe I'm bisexual.
Yeah.
And that actually made me feel a lot better. Because I was really fucked.
100%.
For about a year, I was like, oh, something's really wrong. I'm really fucked up. Didn't want to talk to anyone. Didn't want to be around anyone. Withdrew a lot. And then I was like, I'm probably bisexual.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. And I think at the time I was like, oh, I feel heaps better about that. Came out as bisexual. Got a girlfriend. By the time I was 17. But yeah, prior to that, I had many boyfriends. Yeah. I just had a bit of an obsession with dating.
Do you ever think back to now about what your ex-boyfriends would think?
Yeah.
Just ring them up. Hey.
Hey, bro.
Remember me?
What's up, bro? Hey, you know what? I did have one boyfriend who, like, because I was so affected by, you know, like body anxiety and stuff like that. I was an asshole in a relationship. Yeah. And I probably treated this guy like total shit, right? And then when we broke up, he was the last guy I was with before I came out as a lesbian. Okay. And he was so great about it. Yeah. He was so supportive. His friends were assholes. And he was just always so nice about it. Yeah. And so I think back and everything, I probably dated some really decent guys. Yeah. Yeah.
There are some really good humans out there.
Yeah.
It's a shame that in society or in the media or whatever, we always highlight on the negative and the bad. Yeah. But there are actually some good. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know a couple of assholes.
Yeah. There's always one or more.
Yeah. Sometimes they come in pairs. But
hopefully you have to deal with them one at a time. That's the idea.
But there are a lot of really good people out there, and why shouldn't they be nice to you? Like that's like it's not like you didn't do the wrong thing.
Well, that's and that leads us to like a whole other shitload of stories. But like, I generally have had. I mean, I think it really does matter how you look at things, like who you choose to focus on.
Yeah. But they're not gonna be like, you become a lesbian just to piss me off.
Yeah.
Like, No, mate.
I definitely
Pretty sure I didn't want to bear
had
that burden
friends
just
like
for
that.
you.
Yeah, but I think they actually, I'm pretty sure, like, the people that I had most trouble with, either they didn't get it and they're just dicks, you know, because they're like 17-year-old boys.
Yeah.
And the other guys, I think they actually had the hots for me. And they were really confused and offended that I actually liked women and not like them.
Yeah.
So that was where most of the... Oh, that was a good one.
George. George.
That's one up on Benny, yeah. Well, my dog was really rich farts. That was bad.
That's really...
Yeah.
Carry on.
Just get a choke in the corner. Yeah, so, yeah, no, I've been really fortunate in my transition and in my life that I've really been surrounded by really good people.
Yeah.
Like, I've had very minimal backlash, very minimal shit come at me over my journey as both coming out as a lesbian and then coming out as transgender.
Yeah.
Like, most of the issues have been within myself. So my own fears of like, and my own fears of rejection, and especially rejection and change.
Yeah.
They're the two biggest things for me. That's what held me back the most.
Yeah.
And that was coming from me. Like, and the second thing was like, we all have this kind of internalized phobia, like especially people who, you know, prior to coming out as gay, they may have some internalized homophobia, you know, or definitely me prior to coming out as trans, I had like major internalized transphobia, and that held me back a lot. And, you know, just the idea that I could be so fucked up and like wrong and like all this kind of stuff, because that's how we grow up, right? Like, I don't know if you've ever had, until like the like recent past, maybe 5 years ago, we haven't really had any trans people in the media who have positive influences or are normal, seeming normal people.
Yeah.
You know, we always see that guy in the movie who's a transvestite and like gets like fucking bagged out or like made a joke. You always see that. We always hear about trans people getting killed and, you know, and it's fucked up, you know, or like, you just hear all this like, just this real negative stuff growing up. So you never see anyone who is like you, who's young and trans. You never see anyone who, you know, you would aspire to who is trans until, like in the last 5 years, we've had like some celebrities coming out and we've had people in sport coming out and, you know, we've got all these people to look up to now who are really great role models, which is so important, you know. So for me, like having none of that, firstly, not even recognizing that part of myself, because a lot of times, like until you see yourself in another person, you don't understand that part of yourself, which is actually... in psychology, that's
I feel like that's identity. Whether you're trans or whether you're not. There's so many people that have their own inner fears holding them back from being who they want to be without even being gay or trans or
there's just
else.
that just that personal barrier as well, and then there's other barriers that come with having, you know, an out of the box identity, or being part of a minority. Being part of a minority is like that. You know, you've got all these other barriers that go with that. So I had to sort of battle those two things to get myself to a point where I could come out of denial and actually make some changes, which happened at about 26, when I was 26. Yeah.
So let's also talk about Hillary.
Oh, yeah. My beautiful wife.
Badass. She's awesome. So you guys have been together for how long?
We've been together for 9 years this coming May.
And so she was also quite a big part in you recognising that you were trans.
Huge, So in the first 6 months we were together, she said to me, she explains it like, if she was telling the story, she'd say she was sitting down in the lounge room and then she saw me like in the kitchen or like by the door or something, and she only saw a man. She didn't see anyone else. And so she asked me in the first 6 months of our relationship, she said, "Hey, were you supposed to be born a boy?" And I was like, "Yeah, probably." But, you know, there's nothing I could do about it. So whatever. But, and that was when I met her when I was 23. So I had met my first trans guy when I was 21. And when I met him, I became instantly obsessed with him and all these other guys who do like YouTube vlogging of their journey, and like they talk about their experiences and stuff like that, and I pretty much just watch that on repeat 24/7. And so when she said that to me, I was like, yeah, probably, but I was like deep in this denial, like totally shut down to it.
You weren't ready to confront that.
I was just like, oh well, my belief system was always like, I might be that, but there's never anything I can do about it. So I'm just stuck this way, and that's the way it is. And I think like over time she's really helped me sort of like get to know myself really well.
Yeah.
And, there's so much that just pure love can do for someone.
Yeah.
And she's extremely loving.
Well, that's all I see with you guys, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I love it. So I I hadn't even met her, and we knew each other sort of thing.
Yes.
So then when we met, we're like, because I don't know, I've been I met you 2016 push-pull. That was my first GPC comp, and I met you at PTC.
Yeah.
Sydenham?
Yeah. Sydney.
Yeah, Sydney. Yeah, and so we met, and then I was like, the next time I saw you, I'm just like, hey, just like, I don't know, like we've been friends forever. And you'll be like, man, I met this chick once, and she's talking to me like I've known her forever. And then,
well, that's what I love about powerlifting, though. It's like so like that.
Yeah.
Like, we all we have this like really solid thing in common.
Yeah.
And so everything else is just
because it's a really hard, difficult thing, and you go through it all together, and then at the end of it, you're like, fuck yeah, and you hug and whatever. And
100%.
Yeah. So, no, but it's been good because I think that you guys are just so solid, and I think for you to go through what one of the things I love most about you is that you share all of this, and because it's such a big thing to go through, and I can't relate to it, but I love that I can relate to you just being who you are, and trying to let the wall down to people, and being vulnerable, and just saying, there's got to be times when you're like, fuck, I don't know if I feel that comfortable talking about this or doing this, and you just go, that's it, here it is, this is me, and I'm doing it, and I'm just being real. And I really love that about you, and that's why I've never ever had any barrier from what I've told you about me.
Like, everything's on.
I'll just be rattling off, and I'm like, oh yeah, I never really said that to anyone before.
Here we go. Here's Jax.
That's just our conversations.
Well, that's really good, because I think, obviously we all share that. Like, we literally all have this internal processing part of ourselves that, we might be, like you were saying before, we all have this kind of self-esteem complex, or like we don't feel good enough, or we don't feel like we know ourselves that well. So if anyone can facilitate that for you, that's a good person.
Yeah.
And so I I think I took so long to medically transition for obviously a lot of reasons, but I wanted to be in a place where I could share the details and the intimate parts of it. Yeah. Because when I was from 21 on, going online and seeing videos of guys going through it was just so critical. I would just say
it wasn't coming from a place of love for you, and you can only do that when you're ready to be comfortable with it for yourself. Yeah,
and I didn't want to transition out of pain or stress. I wanted to transition as a celebration of my identity and who I was. I think the energy and the vibration of how you talk and perform and act in your life, it creates the energy of how you flow. And I wanted this to work. I actually had to work, because I got to that point where I was like, when I transition, I may as well be dead, and that is not something I'm not a person who has suicide in my being. I'm a really positive person, but when you're in those kinds of places, when you're that shadow part of your life and so shut down in deep denial, in desperation, your body does it naturally. It goes, hey, you know what? You're completely trapped. This is all fucked. There's threats everywhere. You're going to die anyway. Let's get out, Yeah. And so I was like, I need to change. I need to take this step, but I need to do it in a way that's going to be life affirming for me. Yeah. Because it's only up from here to create that, right? Yeah. So
it's self-improvement, not moving away from pain.
That's right. Yeah. And I also think I had to get to that point to do it properly. Because, when I first took testosterone, from the day I took it, I, every single coping mechanism I had to get myself to that part of my life just completely fell away, which is pretty fucked. Yeah. If you've ever been in your life where you're, in a situation that's totally scary, you got no idea what to do, that really makes you, you know? You really, you contact part of yourself that I don't think many people get to that part of themselves unless they're in dire situations. And I just recognize it as that is where you contact the human spirit. And I think you see that a lot in powerlifting as well. People going for these crazy numbers that should be able to get, don't really know. Got to get everything together to get it happening. You got to contact that part.
Tap into it.
Yeah, there's a lot of self-development that goes into powerlifting. So I think I need to share that as well, because I think a lot of people need to know. I think a lot of trans people need to know that it's normal to be in that space, and it's not to victimize you or to victimize the process. You're not fucked up. You're just going through something extraordinary. And these are parts of it: vulnerability, fragility, You know, being in this kind of survival mechanism all the time. This is like part of it, and it does get better if you try to work through it, or you try to flow with it. You know, it's just part of life. It's not a disorder. It's not something you have to get really intense about. So I just was always like, I really want to show those parts of it. And also I'm like intensely self-aware, so like if I find anything that helps, or like aware enough to find the sort of remedy for that, whether that's a supplement or you know, some form of meditation or something like that, I'm going to share that because, you know, people need to know. You know, people who are going through it need to know. But I think people need to know, even people who aren't transitioning. 100%.
People need to know. People are so non-self-aware or so insecure or to have like some deep dark thoughts like bad depression or like sometimes it's self-created depression because it's spiraling thoughts that go out of control that pull them down into this place where that's actually not the reality of the world. Like you're living in this self-made place, but actually if you strip everything away, life's not that bad for you right now, and probably just the mindset and the way you're approaching things in your head is what's holding you back. So
totally, mindset is so important.
So I love that you do it, and like you do it, and you do it so you like to help the other people in that community. But I love that you do it because it also makes the hetero or whatever you want to call, like I would love for my mum to go and watch some of your videos. Do you know what I mean? Because then it's not goss, like, like you know, like people that have that mentality.
That's a huge part about it. It's like, education.
Well, that's just normal. And like you said, with you've got clients with the kids have come to your practice this whole time, and you were a girl and now you're a guy, and so it's just like you just talk to them and it's normal. Like it's not like it's
kids
not
are
a
the
thing,
best.
you know. And they're like, okay, cool. Like they're like, yeah, right. You used to be a girl. Hey, yeah, cool. Like it doesn't matter. Like,
that's
it's
right.
not weird.
And that's exactly what kids are like. And I probably anguished over that more before I came out. Before I started transitioning. I probably worried about the kids the most because at that time, I mean, it's probably a bit less now, but it was probably like 40% of my patient base was children under the age of 12. And their parents, right? And I was like, fuck, you know, like, are they going to be okay? Like, I don't want to, you know, but this is internalized transphobia, right? I had this belief system that trans people were a bit fucked up, and so therefore exposing children to that would fuck them up, you know? Like, we want to be really basic about it. And that's me perpetuating a rhetoric that is damaging to the identity of trans people. And like, obviously, these children just totally turned that around. They were amazing. They inspired me and inspired their parents because they'd be like, you know, they'd be like, oh, so are you a boy or a girl? I get that a lot before I transitioned anyway. And I'd be like, oh, I'm a boy now. You know, I was a girl and now I'm a boy. Like, oh, how'd you do that? Like, oh, I take this medication, I take this hormone. That, you know, and if it was a boy, I'd be like, when you go through puberty, you're going to have lots of it. That's what makes you, like, have a deep voice and, like, be a bit hairy and stuff. And they're like, oh, cool. Hey, I like your moustache. Or, like,
then they go, is that a new painting? Whatever. Like, it's just like that. Next subject.
Just like that. And I'm like, wow, this is so good. And the parents are just sitting there like, the parents are like,
waiting for the change.
They're like, we haven't even had like the birds and the bees talk yet, and now they know what a transgender person is.
That's right. And you know, like really, like some parents are like, oh, that was good. Kid just did it all themselves. You know, and I think some of the parents that were a little bit more like uncomfortable, they're the ones that had kids. They got really uncomfortable. Some of them didn't come back to see me, which is fair enough. It was like I was like, they're just so they couldn't be okay. Like just relax. Like I'm relaxed. The kids relaxed, but they just couldn't relax. And I think they just didn't want to say the wrong thing or like like even one guy, like even just on Saturday, I had this kid and she's really smart. She's only like 4 or something. She's been seeing me for about 3 years, and they just sort of like brushed over. They didn't approach it. They just totally brushed over it. Just one of those families. And I'm like, I'm going to be the one to be like, hey, I'm trans. Is that okay? So I just like turned into this over time, and we've just all been all right with that. But that last week, she was like, oh, are you a boy or a girl? And I was like, well, you know, I was a girl, and now I'm a boy. She's like, yeah, well, how'd you do that? And then her dad just like cut in going, oh, that's another story for another time. And I was like, the kid was
you should have been like, no, it's okay.
I did. I said, no, well, actually, like, this kid has juvenile rheumatoid arthritis and has to have a needle every month.
Right.
And I was like, well, it's kind of like, you know, how you have a needle. Like, I do the same thing, but mine transforms my body into, like, a more manly body.
Right.
And that's why I look like this now. And she was like, cool.
Yeah.
Nothing.
She's like, oh yeah, I get it. I get needles.
Because
like, you know,
yeah,
like, it's like
exactly.
Kid, it doesn't matter.
It's so easily explained.
Yeah.
And the only thing that we're aggravating over is like our own ideas of what it means, or like.
Yeah. Well,
like,
the
people
dad's
just
probably
getting
like,
so, like,
oh my god, because
oh,
then he might
shit.
start talking about what he does in the bedroom, or like, you know, like who
God
like,
knows where his
but-
mind went.
Exactly. So it doesn't.
I think, you know, they're just so worried about me being uncomfortable, but like that's the other thing I had to do, you know, like before I transitioned, I had to get myself into a position where I could be comfortable
Where
with
you
that,
were
because I
comfortable.
was transitioning publicly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wouldn't say this about myself anymore, but I would have identified as a very private person back then. Like
Yeah, you can't do that now.
No, I'm not private anymore. Everything's out on the table.
Check your YouTube account.
And so I just had to be in a really good place to be able to do that. And my main thing was, I know there's nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
And I respect myself, and therefore I demand that of everyone I meet.
Yeah.
And you know, most people complied with that.
Yeah.
And the people who didn't, like, I got absolutely no issue with people saying the wrong thing to me. Like, heaps of people have done that. Just said horrific things about me and my partner. But from a place of this, like, deep ignorance.
Yeah,
they just don't understand.
They just don't get it. And, like, I can have compassion for that.
Yeah.
And I can go, you know what, this is an opportunity for me to educate someone who has probably got access to a lot of people with the same mindset as themselves. So if I can be like, honour that and be like, well, actually, no, my partner isn't a lesbian and knows that I'm now a man, and that doesn't mean she's going to leave me.
Yeah.
People said that. Don't you know your partner's a lesbian? How's that
Remember,
work?
I said to you, you were telling me about your dad had a hard time,
Yeah.
like with like just like probably had more of a hard time with you being a lesbian. I can't really. I'd had a few drinks because it was the whiskey deadlift party.
Day, yeah.
And I'd pour that real big whiskey to everyone. Are you gonna have that much? And I was like, I'll add mixer to it. And they're like, but you're still gonna drink that much whiskey, you know? By the end, I was up.
An hour later, we were like, trans.
2 hours later.
Yeah.
And I said that you should have said to your dad, well, I was going to be a lesbian, but then I just thought, I don't want to be a lesbian, so I'll turn into a boy so I can be with Hillary.
Yeah.
And you were like, that would have been heaps easier for him to understand.
Yeah, my dad was pretty good. I don't think he understood initially, like what, with the decision that I'd come to, or the discovery.
Yeah, wasn't he trying to be all cool about it? Like,
Yeah, he was
you can do
super cool.
dykes on bikes and stuff like at the party
He
bar.
was super cool about being a les. And like, you know, he was always like, I was like, yeah, I need to buy a motorbike to get around Sydney. And he was like, oh, dyke on bike.
Yeah.
I was like, Dad, please stop that. Like when I was living there after I first came out, I was going to go out. And like, you know, I was like a hardcore baby dyke, right? With the mohawk and the black singlet and all the like spikes and like shit. And he was like, oh, you're going to go pull some chicks. Dad.
Son of the best.
I was like, yes, Dad. Tell you about it tomorrow. He's always been great. I mean, my family's been great.
Yeah.
They are another one. My family is very English, and the English thing is like, don't impose. I don't ask too many questions. Don't cause any trouble. Just sweep it under the carpet. But this is something, they had to change my pronouns. They had to call me the right name. That took a long time. You know.
What was your name?
Chloe.
Get the fuck out. I've never even asked you that before.
Yeah. My full name is Chloe Suzanne Wearing, which never fit. I was like, fuck, I'm not a Chloe. Get a reputation for misnaming
I'm a dickhead.
Yeah. Just don't do the cop. I'll be like,
I know. I'll go, come on, Chloe. No, I won't. Oh my god, I better not. Better give myself a reminder on the morning of comp. Don't call.
You won't. I mean, this is a thing.
Never.
Like, it just doesn't fit.
Not at comp.
And
I'm going to though at a time.
Yeah,
when
we're having a joke.
Yeah.
We're having a joke. You can do that. Yeah, which is good. I mean, like a lot of trans guys are really hung up about their old names. Actually, like the rhetoric in the trans community is to call it your dead name, which I find a little bit intense.
Yeah, it's a bit full on. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand. Totally understand. Yeah, but I just really think like for me especially, like I need to make this as positive and as a whole and integrated experience.
I feel like
as
the
possible.
people that do that would be the people that change change their gender, then move somewhere where no one knows them and have a new identity, and that's why the old self is dead.
Yeah.
Whereas you've been like, no, I'm here and I'm doing this and I'm going to change, and everyone can like, watch me develop.
Totally. It's like a totally different experience for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think dead name serves people for that, like, so they can just be like, fuck it, it's to bed, don't have to think about it and shut that
and
door.
especially if they've had people like their family weren't accepting of them or anything like that.
That's right. And there's so many negative connotations around it and stuff. Like, for me, it had always just been just such an awkward name. Like, even Hillary, when we first met, she's like, just pretty much after like a couple of weeks, just started calling me babe. She's like, Chloe just doesn't really work. Yeah. Although it's hilarious. It's like, I changed my name 6 months before I transitioned. 8 months before I transitioned. And like, you're right.
Oh, that air freshener thing's annoying me.
Does it keep spitting on you?
The plug-in one. No, it's just, I mean, George's fart was worse.
I know, but it's organic, you know?
Sorry, continue on.
Yeah, about 6 months after, so I changed my name and I started transitioning. So about a year after I changed my name, 6 months after I transitioned, so it's transitioning, we were in Myers or something, and I was like buying a vest or something like that, and I was at the counter. And she was like over somewhere and she was calling my name, Jaxson. And then she's like, fuck. And she goes, Chloe. I turn around and she's like, and I was like, no. Even 2 years after, we were doing a prep test at uni and we were getting people in, they were calling out the names. And I was in the room setting up, getting people in there and going, okay, Chloe Marshall or something. And I went out and I'm like, what? And they were like, not you, Jax. And I was like, oh, sorry.
And like yesterday down Cronulla, he's like, Lauren. And I'm like, and then I'm like, I was like, what did you, like, kind of like, why did you call me that? And you're like, because I've been yelling out to you, like, because it's always Loz, maybe babe, or something, you know, and I always just heard this, Lauren, and he goes, I called you like 5 times. And I'm like, in your husky little voice, like 5 minutes down the road. Hey Loz.
Yeah, but it's just the same as, like, I remember, like, I lived somewhere for like 10, 15 years, and then I'd fucking drive back there, I'd just leave work, I'd drive back.
Autopilot.
All right, I'm over here, you know what I mean? Like, you're just on autopilot.
That's exactly right.
So you get that clear and you're like, what?
Yeah, that's why I was like, I was pretty, like, with all my patients and with my parents, I was pretty relaxed about them making the transition over to Jax. Because, like, my patients were really good. They just really slipped up, like, probably for the first, like, I'd say it took about 2 years. Yeah. After 2 years, pretty much everyone had just let it go, you know? Yeah. And I think that's an energy thing too. Like, I just was so male. Yeah. And just so male presenting and sounding and everything. I just couldn't, like, saying she and Chloe just felt wrong.
I just never even knew you had, like, in my head, really never thought about you having another name. Thought Jax was just, you know what I mean?
Well, the gym where I came out, like, with the gym where I was training before I came out, where I also came out there, the guys there, they changed straight away. There was I was never misnamed or misgendered at my old gym, ever. Which was, I was like, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's good.
The same thing as at uni, with all the students and all the staff, never misgendered or misnamed at all. Clinic and at home, I was, but that's more because it's more intimate, like closer relationships. And the guys, like, it was only about 6 months in, and they were like, you know, we were sitting together having lunch, and we were trying to figure out what your old name was, and we could not remember. Yeah. And I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And I remember, so about 6 months into transitioning on T, so I didn't take on the he pronoun until I started testosterone. Right. And then I also, like, just had to really try to call myself that. Because I was still calling myself Chloe all the time. Yeah. I was still saying she about myself all the time. And then about Christmas time, I had this experience where I had, like, a memory from when I was a kid. Like, I can't remember. I was, like, a little kid, like 5. My whole family did ballet, right? And I remember, like, being on camera and, like, doing a plie in front of the camera. And my parents going, oh, look, there's Chloe. She's doing a splits or something like that. And in my brain, I relived the same memory, but I remembered it as, oh, there's Jax, he's doing the splits, like that. Like, no force, nothing, just seamlessly. And then all my memories from then were he and Jax. Yeah. Which is so I felt like a self-identification completely. That's cool. My memories didn't change. My body didn't change, like, remembering back, but my name and my, So I always figure that, you know, transgendered people are born with an identity, you know, and then it's covered by another identity of what society sees you as, what you're medically classified as, and that your parents think is the right thing for you at the time, and then you're still Jax and he underneath that. You're just trying to make this other mask work for ages, and then you go, fuck, it doesn't work, take it off, and then you come out and you're like, oh, I've been here the whole time.
That's where I've been the whole time.
And that's the best thing. It's the most amazing thing about Hillary and our story as a partnership, is that I reckon, like, when we met, I was probably about 5% he, Jaxson. Yeah. And 95% Chloe, she, and like trying to force it, trying to make it work. And I reckon that she fell in love with and saw the 5% that I was there.
Okay, yeah.
And stuck with that.
Yeah.
And then I think because she was into that, and like, you know, that grew over time, and then obviously finally transitioning, that's like 99% of me now. And she's like, I just love everything about you. She's like, I never thought I'd like, you know, body hair so much.
Yeah. Being lesbian before.
Being
like,
such a masculine man, you know. She's like, I just love it. It's great. Give it to me, you know, like, you know.
That's so good. The best.
It's cool. Yeah. It's cool. Like, and I think that's
I can kind of relate, because I've never had a boyfriend like him. And then I'm like, this guy's fucking massive.
Yes.
I was like, I've never dated a guy this big before. Like,
yes.
you know, coming from CrossFit backgrounds, like, you know.
Pretty boys.
All little skinny
like,
blokes. Extra medium
he's
t-shirt.
he's like, how are you still single? And I'm like, I think I intimidate boys. And he's like, fucking hipsters. That's what, that's what he said on our first date.
Can't handle you.
Yeah. No, I never knew I'd love a hairy man as much as I love you.
That's right. Yeah. So she's pretty special.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Like, she's just a great example of how sexuality and gender is so fluid.
Yeah.
You know, and you can.
And also just love is love.
Love is love.
You fall in love with the person, and the person is the person.
Yeah.
He or she, doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I think it tripped a lot of people out. Like, probably the most offensive stuff I got was people telling me that she would leave me now, that I'm a man.
Yeah.
Because she's a lesbian. I'm like, you know, she's not defined by her sexual orientation.
Yeah.
And neither is our relationship or our love for each other. It's not defined by. She's not going to go.
But that's so evident anyway. Like, it's so clear with you two.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, anyone who's like, she's going to leave you, has never seen the two of you together.
Yeah. And I just loved, like, it was so funny how people would just say it to me like I hadn't figured that out.
Yeah, like you'd never thought.
Like, don't you think I might have agonised over that for, like, you know, a year before I transitioned? That, what if she leaves me?
Yeah.
You know, love of my life. What if I change, and that wasn't a guarantee.
Yeah.
She couldn't guarantee to me, I'm going to stay.
Yeah.
She's like, obviously, try my best. You know, but I don't know. She's like, I don't know. And that freaked her out too, you know? So it was a big journey for her too. Yeah. Just a massive unknown.
It was big for both of you. It's
good.
Good.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy time.
It's very cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. So good. And then we got married. It was awesome.
How good's the wedding day?
So good. It was the best.
You never really, like, you always are like, oh, like people are like, oh, it'll be the best day of your life. And you're like, like, you know.
Let me just find my seat
I've had a pretty good life. I'm sure it'll be sick, but I don't know. We'll see. Like, it was literally, like, our wedding day was like, it was this most incredible day ever.
So
and we're
amazing.
just like,
Yeah.
the whole day, just like, my cheeks hurt because I can't stop smiling.
Oh.
And ours was perfect because we made it start really early, so it was like from 1.
the whole
and then
day.
it went to, like, you know, we were in the same place till 10:30 that night. That's a long time. And then we kicked on till 5 a.m. Which we've never ever done. Well, I've done plenty of times, but never done with him. That's the first time it's the first time I'd even seen him have more than 2 drinks.
Whoa.
I was like, said to someone, I hope I like him when he's drunk. I
haven't tested that out.
And I think about 3:30 in the morning, you were having a rant with, like, Ben and Ariane, and I was watching you from over the room, and I was like, I really love him. That's good. glad.
Yeah.
Got a few hours left to annul this wedding. It was good.
That's good.
So with the transitional therapy, so testosterone therapy, how many milligrams is it, like a standard transition?
Yeah,
like
so there's like a lot of different types of testosterone.
Yeah.
In Australia, there's 4 different types.
Yeah.
Currently, there's only 2 because there's a massive national shortage.
Yeah.
Short-acting testosterone, there's a huge shortage in that, which is a massive issue, right?
Yeah.
So there's testosterone gel, gel, which is like 5 milligrams a sachet or something, or 50 milligrams a sachet.
Yeah,
I think it's 50 milligrams a sachet. Anyway, I obviously don't take that anymore. And then there's Reandron, which is 1,000 milligrams in 4 mils.
Yeah.
And
But
that's a
like
slow acting one.
6 or 8 week ester or something like that.
That's right. And then there's the short acting ones. So there's testosterone and anthate, which is primatestin.
Yeah.
And there's sustanon, which is a mixture of different types of testosterone, just short acting as well. And so I take 250 milligrams, which is 1 mil of primatestin a week.
Yeah.
And that's what works best for me.
Yeah.
So there's different types that work differently for different people.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of guys in Australia who love Reandron. They take Reandron. They only have to take it once every 6 to 12 weeks. and then there's other guys who take sustanon every fortnight, or they might take primatestin every 10 days.
Yeah.
So it really depends on... I mean, this is the cool thing about... For me, this is the cool thing about where we're at right now in the medical transition area is that no one knows anything about what they're doing.
Yeah.
Basically, endocrinologists are like, I don't know. GPs are like, no idea.
See what happens.
Yeah, I think this is right. This is what my friend's doing. This is what I heard from this person.
Yeah, because what I've heard before, a lot of people say is basically 100 milligrams is there's what they use for transitional. So I guess then they just adjust it up or down based on the person.
That's right. Yeah. So I mean, personally, what happened to me? I started with gel. Yeah. I went and I stupidly went because this is a state of trans health care at the moment. Is that I thought any endocrinologist would be able to prescribe me appropriately. I thought, hey, what's the big deal? You know, I'm in a female body. We want to go to male body. What we got to do is get my testosterone levels into the male range. Yeah. It's not hard science, right? And so I went to this guy. I assumed that he would do the right thing by me. He put me on a testosterone gel, which was very, very low dose. For a long time, 3 months, he wanted me to do this and climb up. And... it got my levels up, but had no change in my system. Yeah. And so I was still getting a period, right? And I was still getting cramp. I was still getting all this stuff happening. And I'd already waited a long time. So I was like, I really need to see. I need to I need to go to injectables. Like he should have started me on injectables straight away. Yeah. And there's so many different ideas of thought. Like, should you go high dose initially and just slam people through male puberty as quickly as possible, or should you start gradually get the body used to testosterone and then go on it? And so his idea was like, we'll get you to male range, low male range, and then we'll put you on something that just maintains that. Yeah. And so the maintenance testosterone is Reandron, which is 1,000 milligrams per 4 mils, which is a 12-week cycle. Yeah. In the medical recommendations is that you take that once every 12 weeks. Yeah. And so that's okay for a bloke, cisgendered guy, so a guy who was born a male, who has balls, right, and produces his own testosterone. Yeah. Even if he produces a low baseline testosterone, Reandron works well for him. Yeah. Right? Because he just takes a little bit extra. Yeah. You know, he just takes it exogenously and it goes around the bloodstream, it releases over time, and he's getting a little bit of a boost, right? So he's avoiding andropause or anything that could, anything that goes along with having low testosterone. Yeah. Okay, good for him. Not so good for a trans guy or even a non-binary person. So basically anyone born female who has female physiology, taking Reandron, they metabolize it a lot faster. Yeah. So within 2 to 4 weeks, the Reandron's gone. It's out of the body, and then T levels drop. Yeah. Estrogen starts trying to climb back up. Yeah. And it's really fucked. It's really fucked. And so a lot
big
of guys...
roller coaster, emotional roller coaster.
Emotional roller coaster, the fatigue, the heat, body heat, the menopause that comes from that.
So do you think it would be better to go the high dose, bang,
for me it was
quick?
Yeah. For me it was.
What's the deal with how long should you be on, and then your cycle stop, and how does?
That's right. So the general idea, which I think makes sense, is get into male range, start seeing some changes, especially. You got to get testosterone dominant, right? Yeah. So your body needs to read testosterone as the dominant hormone, sex hormone. Okay. So if you still have high estrogen and you're still getting a period, you're not testosterone dominant. Yeah. You got to move into that, right? So your body needs to shut down the ovaries and the uterus and the pituitary function that goes with having a monthly cycle. Yeah. Okay. And so if you're on high enough dose testosterone for long enough, that will happen. Yeah. Okay. And so obviously you're going to still go through menopause and you're still going to go through puberty.
Yeah.
But it's a lot easier without the fatigue, without the hot sweats, without getting a period, not getting a period, getting a period. Okay, so it's like I really think that high dose testosterone initially is the way to go.
Yeah.
Even if the side effects are a bit dodgy, like maybe you get oily, maybe you get like pimples and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's, you're probably going to get that anyway by the time you hit your second puberty. So
do you think do you have to go through menopause to transition from female to male?
So menopause is where your
You basically turn to
your period or your menstrual cycle it ceases.
Yeah.
It stops.
So I know what that is for an aging woman.
That's right. So the same thing happens for someone born with...
So if you're going to transition, your body will see it as the same way.
It happens. The same thing happens.
Okay.
And look, like, you can't say that a transgender person or even a non-binary person on testosterone is going to have a balanced menopause. So a balanced menopause for older women would be that their period stops or gets irregular and then it stops and they don't get any side effects.
Yeah.
So side effects of menopause that we know is hot flushes and heat and irrationality and major PMS symptoms, right?
Yeah.
But that we really only get those symptoms in the Western world. We don't get when you look at the Eastern world, China, all that. These even just like these other cultures, they don't know what menopause is. They don't have a word for it.
Really?
They don't get hot flushes. They don't get heat. They don't get. So that's a sign that your
Chinese
hormones are out
medicine?
of balance, right? And
if you go through menopause or if you don't have it?
It's a sign that you're out of balance if you get those side effects.
If you get the hot flushes.
You still go through menopause,
Yeah.
it's a normal phase of life. But if you're getting these side effects, then you're out of whack.
Yeah.
There's something in your body's not working, right? It's not
Is that then just go back to Chinese medicine being so on the ball of the things that they have this lifestyle that they don't go through that?
Yeah, I mean, I just look at the Chinese medicine, it's all about constitutional balance, right? So if you have a lot of heat in your body already, which they associate with the hormone system anyway.
Yeah.
So if your hormones are already fucked or out of whack and then you go through menopause, you're going to get symptoms. It's going to affect you. Even in the long run, once it's done and your body finds a new balance, then it will cease. I mean, my mum had menopause symptoms for 10 years.
Wow.
So that's not normal either.
Yeah.
So you got to find that. That's why HRT's around. That's to give you a little bit of estrogen to make your body feel like it's still it's not going through menopause, or it's got a little bit of something to buffer that. So transgendered people are non-binary people going on testosterone therapy are gonna experience menopause because the female menstrual cycle has to turn off.
Ending, right?
Yeah,
Right. Okay.
It turns off,
I never knew
and
that.
because you're testosterone dominant now, your hormones are like, pew, 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 you're gonna have some symptoms.
Yeah.
I don't know that. It's not documented, so I can't tell you.
Yeah.
That every guy has symptoms, or every person going on this testosterone has symptoms. But I had menopause for 3 months.
Yeah.
And I believe that it was a lot worse because I was poorly managed in the beginning.
Yeah.
So the guy put me on Reandron and said, "See you in 12 weeks." 2 weeks later, I hit the deck.
Yeah.
I got up in the morning. I was red. My face was red. I was so irritable. I couldn't even stay in the house. I had to leave.
Yeah.
And I've never been accosted by emotions that I couldn't control ever.
Yeah.
I've experienced intense emotions, but I've always been able to say, "Hey, I'm feeling this way.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go and I'm
rationalise
gonna
it.
take myself for a walk."
Yeah.
This I was just like, "Fuck you, fucking leave me, fuck it out, fuck," all the way. And I was like
Kicking
that
an ant
all
off the
day.
doorstep. Poor little guy.
I was like that all day, like, teaching was the worst. If someone didn't get what I was saying straight away, it'd be like, I go red. It was so crazy.
You were like
I was
my
like,
maths teacher who I argued with.
yeah,
Fuck
yeah.
you.
I know, I was really, it was terrible, and I could not control it, and it took me about 5 days feeling that way, and I was like, I'm just going to put some testo gel on, and just see what happens, and I put it on, and straight away, it was like, whew.
Oh, really?
It was weird.
And this
was
is going to be
so
a real
weird.
dumb question. Do you get hairy where you put the gel?
No.
Okay.
No. I know.
just
You know
wanted
what's weird about that? And I think there is actually some science behind follicle stimulation. But I thought that was bullshit. But now, because where I had my bra strap for years is really hairy.
Oh, really?
But the rest of my chest is taking a bit of time. And I think just having that rub, because it was, benching with a fucking bra being really broad was really, I always wear a sports bra. I didn't wear a binder. So I had a strap. And that's like, I've just got a hairy strap now. So I think there's something in that.
Yeah.
But I don't know about, not where I put the gel. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Because I know a lot of guys that are on testosterone gel and the same thing. They say they get hairier where they put the gel.
Yeah, right. Which they might.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it wakes up some of those.
Yeah.
Some of those follicles wake up.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I'm not sure. But I mean, I've heard that works on your head, right?
Yeah.
Does it?
Head, no.
You should get used to
Head
it.
doesn't work. Head doesn't like the testosterone. It breaks down. Yeah, like suffocates.
Just goes everywhere else.
Yeah, that's right. It's so weird, right? I really would love to read the evolution of that. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
To like get really hairy everywhere and the top of your hair thin so much.
Really hairy shoulders.
Yeah.
Balding.
Bald hair,
receding
yeah.
lines.
High
It's crazy.
DHT.
Yeah, so if I just got on injectables from the beginning,
Yeah.
would have been good.
Yeah.
But as soon as I went on short-acting testosterone, I felt much better, had a lot more energy, felt on top of things, felt in control. I took it every week for a while, and my hormones went a little bit high. Then, there's a really great endocrinologist in Sydney. She works at the Concord Andrology Centre. Her name is Veena Jayadev, and she has the opinion, or she has the experience to go, Reandron in trans guys or non-binary guys or female, sex assigned female at birth, whatever. She was like, you metabolize it too fast. You can't wait 12 weeks. Your hormones will drop after 4 weeks, and you got no way of picking that up because you don't have any testosterone producing cells. So she says, well, then we go 2 weeks. After 2 weeks on Reandron, we do another Reandron shot, another 1,000 milligrams in your ass. That'll get you through to 10 weeks. We do a blood test. If you're good, we leave you for 2 weeks. If you're not good, we'll just give you another shot. So she's really good like that. Whereas, I think a lot of people, a lot of medical practitioners are they're prescribing based off what the pharmaceutical companies are saying. Yeah, rather than what, a trans person might need, right? And so when I just canned Reandron, I was like, this shit doesn't work for me. So I went straight to prima testing, and then I did prima testing every 10 days, but I noticed that 6 days, I start to go down. And by the 8th day, I was fucking tired. Yeah. And then I take my shot on the 10th day, and then I come up, take 2 days to come up. And Hillary and I were like, it's about 6 days here where I'm just kind of fucked. So what I went was like, to avoid the drop, I'm just going to take it at 7 days. Yeah. And that's been the most consistent I've been. Yeah. And my endocrinologist is like, if your test levels go to the high end of normal, I don't care. Yeah. It's fine. It's not a problem, right? She's like, there's no data to say that your body will be affected by that. Yeah. I am in a female assigned at birth body, so I can't shrink my testicles that I don't have. I don't have any negative side effects, and I don't have like rage or anything like that. So she's like, if you feel like this is a good range for you, stay there. Yeah, which is so
awesome. Good to have.
She's so like she's like autonomous. Yeah, it's like, how do you feel? Yeah. I had a GP who works with a lot of trans guys, and seems to be the key, right? After I figured out that not every endocrinologist knows basic science or could understand that, I was like, okay, ask around. So I asked for a trans guy, who is a good endocrinologist to see? He said, go see this person. I went and saw her. She was great. What about GP? Yeah, go see this GP. She works with trans guys. Go in and saw her. And she was great. And she gave me a pile of blood tests, referrals for just testosterone and estradiol. And she said, anytime you feel like a bit off, go get a blood test and see where your levels are at that time. Yeah. Cool. And start to learn what your normal range is when you get a bit low, when you get a bit high, and what that feels like. Yeah, which is really great. Yeah. And so I did that for a little while, but I've been consistent, and now there's a shortage. It's a real pain in the ass. Yeah. Because people like me who have been cruising on prima testing, they all of a sudden have to transfer over to Reandron, and if your endocrinologist's got no idea, they're moving over to a testosterone supplement that, could work for 2 weeks, and then they in the bin, and then they've got to go back through the process of trying to get their cycle back to normal. And the worst thing that can happen is after 3 years on testosterone you get your fucking period back. Because that program's still in there. It's just waiting to come back. Unless you have a hysterectomy, and then
so what about Sustanon? Does that react the same way with you, or you found different stuff? Because same thing. Like a lot of guys doing TRT. And there's a lot of the things you're saying, they say similar things about the different esters, as like how they find that. Like I know a guy, if he uses primatestin, that's what he's script for, and he's fine if he takes it every 7 days. But Sustanon, and he just starts to die in the arse. The same thing. Like, so for him, it's a bit different.
Yeah, I use so when Prima Tessin ran out, went to Sustanon, and I found that I didn't get. I mean, because I'm training as well, so it's really easy to tell if something is affecting you the same way. You know, even just with the fatigue that comes from training or recovery and how you perform in the gym and stuff, and then how I feel at work and all that kind of stuff because I've got like such a crazy busy lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I felt like Sustanon didn't quite cut it at the way that the enanthate did.
Yeah.
So I felt like maybe it was a little bit weaker. But I just stuck with it for, every weekly until it ran out, and so that's been a real pain in the ass. The other thing about Sustanon is it's in peanut oil. Yeah. And I don't think my body really liked peanut oil that much. Like this having that substance in my body. I didn't feel anything, but I felt like I got...
comes in a peanut oil?
Yeah,
some stuff,
Yeah.
That
different
one has companies use different stuff,
Yeah, so you got to... Prima Tessin is a lot cleaner. And I can't tell you what oil that's in, but it's not peanut oil. Peanut oil is really cheap.
Yeah. So imagine you're a dude and you've got a peanut allergy
don't
and you
take
don't
it.
know. I know, but surely that's going to fuck someone up along the way.
And I found Sustanon once I stuck it in my butt. Like it probably took about 5 days to absorb.
Yeah.
It took ages. Yeah, and I was like rubbing it.
Oh, what? You had a lump there?
Yeah, I had a lump there for ages.
Oh my gosh.
Each time I took it was there for like 5 days after. Like usually when I take Prima Tessin, it's in, and if I've corked myself on the way in, which sucks. I'll feel it for a few days, but like a muscle cork, but I usually don't feel it, But Sustanon, I felt that. It was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, peanut in your ass.
Peanut in my ass, literally. But obviously you're gonna get stuff that's cleaner than others.
Can you get like I know a guy in Melbourne, he gets compounded testosterone. They compound testosterone and enanthate for him at the compound chemist.
So that would be my next step, is to do that. And I would need a particular script for that, which would be hard to get, only because Reandron's like, supply is easy.
Yeah.
So they'd be like, well, why don't you just get this? Also, Reandron costs $6.
Yeah.
Okay? And so to compound that, I have to do that on my own. It would probably cost a lot more. I'm fortunate in that, I put that kind of stuff first.
Yeah.
So I would pay. A lot of guys won't pay for that.
Yeah.
But you're right. You could do that.
Yeah.
That would be my next step.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Or go underground. Get me, mate.
Yeah.
Give me some test. Don't know what's in it.
Old mate Jimmy.
Yeah. Might turn into a gorilla or something on that stuff.
You're like, look at my hair is strapped.
Yeah. So that's it's been great. Testosterone is an amazing compound. Incredible stuff. Just
how much did your bench change?
Oh fuck. Let's talk numbers. Yeah, let's talk powerlifting. So I was stuck on 92.5 kilos as my max bench press as a 60 kilo lifter, female lifter, and within 3 months went up to 120.
Wow.
Yeah, just like really easy.
Damn you, Jax!
The thing is, like, when I started T as well, Luke and I decided to do some equip benching.
Okay.
That just like I took some time off after Pro Raw 9. I was like, I did back-to-back powerlifting competitions like every 3 months. Prior to that, for about 2 years, and I was like, I need time off powerlifting, like going to comp prep. B, I don't have any idea how my body's going to change. C, I want to make the most of puberty, because my body is going to be like so sensitive. Everything I put into it, everything that I do to it, it's gonna change according to that. It's going to be like, So I was like, I was doing like fucking trap shrugs.
I can tell.
Bicep curls. Yeah, I think that's also the anxiety. Best thing for traps, anxiety.
Yeah, stress. Oh my god.
Yeah, so we decided to do like, we do bench shirt, lots of accessories, and just like high volume squats and deadlifts. So I just like stayed out of it. I ended up doing an equipped bench comp 3 months after starting T, where I benched 130 in a shirt. And so that was a really good way to sort of inch up. Yeah. So in a shirt, I was benching 110, like, the second week of doing equipped benching.
I benched 110 the first time I put a shirt on after breaking my arm, so I beat you.
Nice. Yeah, baby. You got me.
Session 1.
Fuck.
I've only ever done one session in
I got to go back and do it again.
No, we're going to put the shirt back on after Nationals. Awesome. What are you going to do with your shirt?
Well, I'm going to give it to you.
Sick. I was watching you put it on, and I'm like, there's no way he's going to get into that.
I can't. No, that's
and
why
I didn't want to message right then and there, can I have your shirt? But I'll wait until I see you.
Until we're face to face.
So now I've done it on a podcast, so you can't back out now.
You're locked in.
It's all yours, mate. No worries. Yeah.
As long as you come to a bench shirt session with us.
Oh, yeah. I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Get one of Luke's shirts.
I'm keen to do it. Because we were going to put it in my program so many times after doing it that one session.
You know, my bench press technique went through the roof.
Well, that's what Luke and I have been talking about.
And it stayed like that until probably now.
Yeah.
But I mean, my leverage is like, because bone density and muscle density, everything's changed so much in the last 2 years that almost every lift I've had to change it every prep.
Yeah.
Just to make up for new leverages. Yeah. But yeah, now my leverage has changed a lot in bench again. But
So what about for... So we spoke about how much your bench increased. What about your squat and deadlift?
Yeah, so my squat went up. At Pro Raw 9, I squatted 140, which was a huge PB for me.
What body weight were you?
Female, 60 kilos. Oh, yeah.
Pro Raw 9?
No,
it must have been 8, because
Pro
I was
Raw
at Pro Raw 9. You didn't compete with me then.
It was 8 then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always
okay.
get confused.
Yeah.
Definitely Pro Raw 8. Yeah. I would have squatted 140 there, which was the highest I squatted as a 60k.
Yeah. Was that in reps?
Yeah, in reps. And then I competed exactly a year after that, and I squatted 182 and a half.
Okay.
At 80 kilos.
Yeah.
Yep.
20 kilo jump in body weight.
Yeah, I put on 20 kilos in a year. Yeah. Like I said, I want to take full advantage of.
Yeah.
I just ate. I bulked like crazy.
Well, this is also kind of like similar to what you say with you get some teenagers who come in and train, and like he says to their parents, like, you got to feed this kid. Like, if you want to make a difference now while they're 14, 15, get the food. Like, you know, like trying to school people's mums on what they're giving their kid for breakfast and things like that.
Yeah.
And so we've got...
If I can make them sandwiches, they don't go anywhere without a sandwich.
Yeah, that's right. You just pull that out. Yeah, it actually makes me think of when I was like, where we used to live in England. I'm in a family of 8. And my older brother was like...
As in 6 kids, 2 parents?
6 kids, 2 parents, yeah. So he was 16 when we came back from England. We camped for like 2 months before we figured out we wanted to come and live in Sydney. And he was so weak, you know, because we just eat crumbs during the day and then have a stir fry at night. And he was just fading, and he had to tell my older sister to tell my parents that he needed more food. So they'd buy him a roast chicken every day. He got by with that.
Why did he have to tell your sister to ask him?
Family politics. Yeah. It was weird. Food in our family was weird.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't open something to eat it, and you couldn't eat the last of something either.
Yeah.
You just get roasted. It's really weird. You couldn't finish something, you'd be the one who like had eaten it all or something.
Yeah, you eat the last bit. Well, I get like that with Shannon if he finishes something of mine though.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Look,
can't have the last bit if you're not going to replace it.
Okay. Hey, that's probably not a bad rule. I've once eaten the wrong piece of the cake. Hillary, I don't know, she was in a special place in her life. Yeah. And I like sliced off the cake piece and I put it on my plate, started eating it. She started crying. I was like, what's wrong? She's like, I wanted that piece of cake. And I was like,
the whole cake is there.
It's not like it was the last piece.
That's the best. I'm going to tell her about that.
Yeah.
And before she sees it on here. Heard about that cake incident.
Laugh. Yeah. She'll be like, oh, God, I can't remember it.
And so what about your deadlift?
Deadlift went up. I think
your
a
best
Pro Raw
deadlift?
8 was 175 kilos.
Sumo then?
Sumo then.
Yeah.
Always sumo.
Right.
Yeah, I've got my lower back's always been a bit dodgy. Yeah, thanks to horse riding and stress.
Yeah.
And squatting in the Smith machine. Just fuck it up.
And then, so what did you do
and
at 80?
And then at 80, a year later, I deadlifted 197 and a half.
Okay.
And then I think at the push-pull here that year, I deadlifted 200 for the first time.
Yep.
And then since then, I deadlifted 210. Yeah. So it's pretty good jumps. Yeah. Pretty good leaps, yeah. It's probably training that's changed the most.
Yeah.
Just technique and like handling heavy lifts, heavy loads.
Yeah.
Like obviously 140 felt really heavy as a 60k female, but it still feels the same as a male. It just moves differently, right? It's like I learnt that like the weight's always the same. It just moves differently depending on how big you are and how strong you are. And so like learning to like that first before Battle of the East last year, I hadn't squatted over 200 kilos. So, like, getting into training and leading up, starting to squat 180 for reps and 190 for doubles.
You could see that mental shift for you sometimes when you come in.
I would just be shitting myself on the way here.
Stop worrying.
Yeah, just be really shitting myself on the way here. And there was that one training session where you were like, I was like, I've just got to be like, remember what it feels like to be confident.
Yeah.
And actually remember that before I lift.
Yeah.
And then it was just random because like I was here and I was just unracked 195 and you yelled out confidence and I was like, universe, talking to me.
She's inside my head.
How did you get it? So that was cool. Yeah. So like Battle of the East was a landmark. Confidence.
It was good.
And since then, like 200 now feels like I know I can do it. It's like totally different feelings.
Yeah.
So it's just onwards and upwards.
Yeah.
So,
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for you to compete this weekend.
Me too. Pretty pumped.
Yeah, it's going to be a good comp.
Yeah.
Leroy's gym, Hunter Strength and Performance.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
So.
We'll be there. George and Otis will be there.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll just be like home.
That's right. Yeah, that'll be my
George
last
snoring
comp.
on the platform. I don't care about your squat.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit.
Have you got any chips?
Yeah. Free chips just for George.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Georgie.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on.
Pleasure.
It
Thanks
was
for having me.
awesome. Some great insight, and hope some people get a lot of things out of this.
Yeah. Awesome. Great. Thanks
Cool.
for having me. Hey,
It's been
pretty
a pleasure.
big thing to do these days, especially in the current climate. So
Yeah.
No,
good
it's
to get some airtime.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Thank you.
We welcome you. We love you. I love you anyway. I don't care about him. No, he does too.
I can feel the love. I can feel it.
Thanks, buddy.
No
All right,
worries.
mate. See you.
Laters.
See you guys.
Bye.